one kicked off with a fantastic start with Barnsley bagging in 7 in their opening day. Can they follow it up with another win? We're going to take a little look next. Predictive video. Today we're taking a look at match number 2 in this year's EFL League 1, and we'll get to that in just a second. Of course, if you're new, where you been, smash your subscribe button, bang it. All things Rovers related, League 1 related, world football related. We got all here, boys. Under one roof. A fantastic start indeed. Tonking, of course, poor Vale, who are now rooted to the foot of the table. Can they bounce back? We'll have a look at it, all of it, in a second. Of course, if you are new, of course, check out the links down below. Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. And a big shout out to my VIPs. They are the patrons, and of course, if you want to help the channel, check out those lovely little links. So here we go then, of course, take a little look at how we all got on, including me and you, in the opening day. So here are those results. Of course, my picks on the left-hand side, the real deal was on the right-hand side. So as we scroll down, I did very well in the opening couple of games there. 2-0 win it was for Blackpool. And I got the one bang on the nose. But Bolton picked up a cheeky 3-0 win over Lincoln. I went with a 2-1 win, so ain't too shabby on that one. Cambridge did beat Oxford in the boat race. 2-0 it was. I went with a draw on that one. Carlisle could only muster a draw against Fleetwood. I went with the victory as well. Charlton with just a 1-0 win over Leyton Orient in the Battle of London there. I went with a 0-0 draw myself. I went with Derby, 3-0 win. But of course, Wigan, tonking them. Well, not tonking them, but a cheeky away result. Good away result for them against one of the bigger hitters. 2-1 win for them indeed. Just the 1-0 win for me for Barnsley, but of course we've already talked about it quite extensively already. 7-0 tonking by Barnsley over Port Vale. Peterborough with a 1-0 win over Reading, a good win for them on opening day as well. Reading are expected to challenge. I went of course with Reading. Stevenage with the one and only goal against Northampton Town. I went with a 1-1 draw. Pompey could only muster a draw against Burton's boys. That's of course Bristol Rovers. I went with the victory for the away side here. Shrewsbury 1-0 win over Cheltenham. I went with a 0-0 draw, and of course Exeter, a cheeky away win, 3-0 win for them, 1-0 win in my eye. So realistically, on paper, when we look at it, I think I got myself 3 results out of that. Ain't great start, but of course, just like Port Vale, I've had a ropey one to kick us all off with. But hopefully I'm going to bounce back in week number 2. Anyway, the Prediction League is wide open, and of course, the link is down there. You can still get into it. I know some people will have a head start, but a lot of people kind of drift away. But of course, you could start now and, of course, win it. Be in it to win it, of course. It's 100% free. Get in amongst it. Of course, just like these guys here. Jamie Gold coming at you with these picks. He even dated it for me, which is very kind. He went with a 3-1 win for Barnsley. Of course, not too shabby on that. We did get the Reading one result wrong, just like me. Man is this, whatever that is, his name. Barnsley went with a 2-0 win for him on that one. He also went with a 2-0 win for Pompey over Bristol City. Bit of a clanger there, mate. They're in the Championship, but I'll let you off. And Andy Clark in there. He went with of course, a Reading Peterborough draw. He also went with Barnsley. Where are you? He went with the Barnsley win, but didn't give the scoreline, which is fine because we don't need that, of course, in the Prediction League. This is, of course, how the table looks like. We're going to go, of course, looking at your own table in a second with the predictions. Of course, Barnsley top table on goal difference. Exeter, of course, second at the moment with Blackpool, Bolton, Cambridge and Wigan in the playoffs. Now, I thought Wigan had an 8-point deduction. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, of course, going down, according to this anyway, Port Vale, Wycombe, Lincoln and Oxford, of course. But this is, of course, the Prediction League, the one that all that counts. And sitting pretty at the top of the table is this fella. Don't have one TikTok. It's whatever it is. What a name. It's up there. It's taking up a whole lot of space. But he's up there and he's kicking ass at the moment. 6 points with Emma Rob up there with 4. Callum also up there with 4. Vinny Hong in there, of course, long time admirer of the channel. Thank you for your long-lasting support. Shepherd is back up there in a 6th spot. But yeah, early doors, yeah, I got 3. So I'll be in there around about 6. And I think I'm going to try and get my name actually officially in these rankings. Moving forward, Frosty's in there, of course, former winner of the Prediction League, but of course, got a lot of work to do already. But hey, don't go crazy. It is early days, but that's how it stands at the moment. Now, I think I'm going to try and bring you weekly updates like this, but I'm not going to give you an overall leaderboard lead until the end of the month, of course, and then we can have a predictor of the month sort of stuff, because it does take. I nearly forgot about this, but anyway. You'll see as I go. Don't forget to get involved. It is free. /League One. Get in amongst it. Use the QR code if you're tech savvy, a bit like me. But of course, we ain't going to waste no more time. Jumping in the deep end with the next round of games with Bristol Rovers. That's right, not Bristol City. Bristol Rovers kicking off up against Barnsley. So let's jump in the deep end and have a little look at that badger then, shall we? Kick it all off on August the 12th, of course. Now, don't forget, there is League Cup games in action this week in England with a lot of these sides, if not all of these sides, in action in some capacity. So maybe a bit of resting or just keeping this full strength side at it. But anyway, Bristol Rovers taking on Barnsley, red hot Barnsley over in Bristol. Played the 4 times in 2018. We've got 1 win for Bristol Rovers. We've got 2 wins for Barnsley. We've got 1 draw, of course. Bristol Rovers' biggest win over Barnsley was a 2-1 win. They scored just 2 goals in those 4 games. 0.5 goals game ratio compared to Barnsley. Meanwhile, Barnsley's biggest win over Bristol Rovers was a 3-0 win. They scored 5 goals in those 4 games. 1.25 goals game ratio. And of course, they come into this on 67% form compared to Bristol Rovers' 58% form. Last time the picture over at Bristol was the 0-0 draw back in March 2023. That was, of course, last season. The home side has not lost this game over the last 4. Of course, Barnsley opened up with that 7-0 Tonking Pompey drew with Bristol Rovers this past week as well. They're also going to take on Ipswich. That's right, Bristol Rovers away in the Carabao Cup down at Portman Road. Barnsley hosting Tranmere in the Carabao Cup. Of course, Bristol Rovers expected to lose. Barnsley expected to win against Tranmere. But the odds for this game is 2-1 is your Bristol Rovers. Got 5-4 is your away win. 9-4 is the draw here. Of course, momentum is key. So if they are to have a bit of a bad week this week, it may roll into, of course, league form. But I'm going to go with a cheeky 1-1 draw here. I think Bristol Rovers are a good team. They're a strong team. They're going to compete this year. Barnsley, of course, flexing the muscles already. But, of course, on a tricky away day opening up. Next, of course, we have Bolton. Burton up against Derby County coming out of the Pirelli. That's right. Played each other 14 times since 2008. We got 3 wins for Burton. We got 9 wins for Derby. We got 2 draws, of course. Burton, biggest win over Derby, 3-1 win. And have scored 10 goals in those 14 games. 0.71 goals game ratio for Burton. They are the hosts, of course. Derby, biggest win over, of course, Burton was a 5-2 win, scoring 21 goals in those 14 games, 1.5 goals a game ratio scored between the two sides. They're coming into on 58% form. That's Derby County, of course, started with a defeat. We'll talk about that shortly. Burton also starting with a defeat of course, and we'll elaborate on that shortly as well. 33% form for them as well. Last time around over at the Pirelli, it was a 1-1 draw way back in, of course, December 2022. Derby, of course, taking on Blackpool in, of course, the Carabao Cup this coming week. That's at Pride Park. Burton also hosting former Premier League side Leicester City. Both sides are expected, Derby expected to win. Burton are expected to lose, but the odds right here, right now, we have 3-1 as your Burton. We've got 5-4 on as your Derby. They're red hot favourites. 13-5 is the draw. I'm back in a 2-0 win for Derby on the road, as of course I think that Burton are going to struggle this campaign. Cheltenham up against Bolton. That's right, coming at you over in Cheltenham. Now these two sides, I played each other 7 times since 2016. We got 3 wins for Bolton, 2 wins for Cheltenham. We've got 2 draws, of course. Cheltenham's biggest win, 1-0 win over Bolton, of course, scoring just 6 goals. Actually, quite impressive record, 6 goals in those 7 games, 0.86 goals a game ratio. Bolton on the flip side also flexing a 1-0 win, their biggest over Cheltenham. 7 goals scored in those 7 games, a goal a game average heading into this. They also come into this on a run of 8 games without a loss, 83% form for them heading into this. Cheltenham, though, 3 games without a win, 58% form over the last 6. Last time I played each other over in Cheltenham, it was a 1-0 win for Cheltenham back in October 2022. Bolton picking up only 1 win out of 5 over Cheltenham heading into this. Of course, Cheltenham up and up with a 1-0 loss against Shrewsbury. They take on Birmingham in the Carabao Cup this coming week. I've not got a prediction for that game because I'm not really looking at that game, but they're expected to lose. Bolton, of course, opening up with a 3-0 win over Lincoln. They take on Barrow. Bit of a Northwest crunch clash, that one. They're expected to win that game at home as well. The odds 2-1 is your Cheltenham. We've got 5-4 is your Bolton. 9-4 is the draw here. I'm back in, of course, a 2-1 win. Bolton, they're contenders this year, and I think they're going to be in the mix to the bitter end. Next, of course, we have Exeter City up against Blackpool, of course. Critchley's boys going, of course, taking on Gary Caldwell's boys. Over and Exeter played each other 4 times in 2016. We've got 3 wins for Blackpool, nothing for Exeter. 1 draw, of course. Exeter have scored 5 goals in those 4 games. 1.25 goals game ratio compared to Blackpool's biggest win. 2-0 win over Exeter. They scored 9 goals in those 4 games. 2.25 goals game ratio when going to play Exeter. 92% form for Blackpool as well, winning 5 of the last 6, including friendlies and, of course, the season opener. Exeter, of course, 50% form for them, winning 3 and losing 3. Last time around, though, over in Exeter, it was a 3-2 win for Blackpool. That was in the FA Cup way back in November 2018. Last time I played each other in the league in Exeter was a 2-2 draw way back in February 2017. To come into this on the back of a 3-0 win over Wycombe, of course. They take on Crawley in the Caterpillar Cup. We're expected to win that game. Blackpool on the flip side with a big 2-0 win over Burton. And of course, they do take on Derby County on the road. They're expected to lose that midweek. For the odds on this game, though, we have Exeter 70-10 for the victory, 11-5 is draw, 6-4 is your away win. I'm back at a draw, I think, on this one, 1-1 apiece. What do you think about that? Let me know down below. Kicking on forward, we have Stevenage up against Shrewsbury, of course. A battle of the S's, that's right. These two sides played each other 10 times in 2003. We've got 2 wins for Stevenage, 6 for Shrewsbury, and 2 draws. Stevenage, biggest win for them over Shrewsbury, 2-0 win. They've scored 10 goals in those 10 games. Of course, 1 goal a game ratio. On the flip side, Shrewsbury's biggest win over Stevenage was a 3-1 win. They've scored 15 goals in those 10 games, 1.50 goals game ratio heading into this. Of course, Stevenage unbeaten in the last 3 ones on the spin, actually. They haven't lost the last 4 games. Meanwhile, Shrewsbury also haven't lost the last 4 games, but they're the draw specialist, drawing 3 of the last 4, 42% form for them. Heading into this. Stevenage, though, last time I played that was a 1-0 win for Stevenage at Stevenage, back in, of course, way back in September 2014, nearly 10 years ago. Shrewsbury with a 1-0 win over Cheltenham to open up their account. Of course, they're taking on Leeds United, expected to lose that game in the Caterpillar Cup. Stevenage with a big 1-0 win over Northampton Town on the road. They're taking on Watford, and again, expected to lose that game as well. They took it at the odds here from the bookies. 6-4 is your Stevenage, 23-10 is your draw, and 8-5 is, of course, your away win here. Tight one. Going to go with a 1-0 win, though, for Stevenage at home to keep up the winning streak. That's right. Fleetwood Town up against Cambridge, coming at you over in Fleetwood. Now, these two sides have played each other 9 times since 2010. We've got 3 wins apiece, and we've got 3 draws, of course. Stevenage. What am I talking about Stevenage? What am I about Fleetwood? Fleetwood, of course, the biggest win, 1-0 win over Cambridge. They scored 9 goals in those 9 games, 1 goal a game ratio. On the flip side, Cambridge, biggest win for them over Fleetwood since 2010. That was a 2-0 when they scored 10 goals in those 9 games, 1.11 goals a game ratio against Fleetwood. Fleetwood unbeaten in the last 6, haven't lost in the last 7, 75% form for them. Cambridge winning 5 of the last 6 in all competitions, all friendlies, 83% form for them heading into this. Last time around over in Fleetwood, it was a 1-0 win for Fleetwood. In fact, the away side hasn't won since Fleetwood beat Cambridge in Cambridge way back in April 2011. Cambridge with a 2-0 win over Oxford in the boat race. They do take on Sutton United in the cup. Could be a tight one. They could go either way. Fleetwood taking on Port Vale, of course, in a game they're expected to lose as well. The odds for this one, 6-5 is your Fleetwood, 21-10 is your Cambridge, 9-4 is the draw. Tight, but I'm going to go with a home win here. Fleetwood take the 3 points and moving on. Leyton Orient taking on Pompey, a bit of a zinger. This one down at Brisbane Road. Now these two sides have played each other 7 times since 2012. 4 wins for Leyton Orient, 3 wins for Pompey, and we've got 0 draws, of course. Leyton Orient, though, started with a stutter, of course. 8% form for them heading into this. 5 defeats in the past 6 in all comps. Meanwhile, Pompey also without a win in the last 3. 50% form for them heading into this. Of course, biggest win, though, for Portsmouth over Leyton Orient was that 5-2 win. They scored 12 goals in those 7 games, 1.71 goals a game ratio. On the flip side, Leyton Orient, biggest win for them over Pompey, 1-0 win. They scored 11 goals in those 7 games, 1.57 goals a game ratio heading into this as well. Last time they played each other over at Brisbane Road, it was in League 2. It was way back in October 2016. It was a 1-0 win for Portsmouth, who are actually 3 games, 3 winning games on a 3-game winning streak against Leyton Orient, including friendlies. Pompey, though, with a draw against Bristol Rovers opening day. They're taking the Vegans in the Caterpillar Cup, where they're expected to win. As for, of course, Charlton did beat Leyton Orient at the Vale this past week. Of course, taking on Plymouth, who did start their account with a win as well. So, tasty cup competitions for these two. But the odds on this one, we're going to take it to Leyton Orient. We got 29-20 for the host, 70-10 is your away win, 9-4 is the draw. I'm back at a 1-0 win for the Orient, getting their first 3 points on the docket. Next up, of course, we have Lincoln City taking on Wycombe Wanderers, of course, at the Central Bank. Played each other 19 times since 2004. We've got 6 wins for Lincoln, 8 wins for Wycombe. We've got 5 draws, of course. Lincoln's biggest win over Wycombe, 3-0 win, scoring 21 goals in those 19 games, 1.11 goals game ratio heading into this. Wycombe, though, 3-1 win, the biggest win over Lincoln, 20 goals scored in those 19 games, 1.05 goals game ratio, and they come into on 50% form, winning 2, losing 2, and drawing 2 over the last 6. 6, including friendlies and whatnot. Lincoln, though, 3 defeats on the spin, 42% form for them heading into this. And, of course, last time they played each other over at Sinsel Bank, it was a 0-0 draw back in December 2022. Lincoln, however, unbeaten over Wycombe over the last 3, winning 1 and drawing a couple. Lincoln with that 3-0 loss to Bolton, taking on Notts County in the Cup. We're expected to lose that game despite being a division higher. As for Wycombe, 3-0 loss to Exeter. They're going to take on Milton Keynes over at the Don Stadium there, and expected to win that game heading into this. The odds for this one, we have Lincoln 70-10, 6-4 is your Wycombe, 11-5 is the draw. Tight on this one again, going with a draw myself, 1-1 on this one. What about you? Let me know down below. Kicking on forward is Oxford United up against Carlisle United, of course, coming at you over at Kazam. These two sides have played each other 10 times since 2002, 4 wins apiece and 2 draws, of course. Oxford, though, biggest win for them over Carlisle, 2-0 win. They scored just 10 goals in those 10 games, 1 goal a game ratio. On the flip side, it's pretty much carbon copied. Biggest win for Carlisle over Oxford was a 2-0 win. They've also scored 10 goals. Again, a goal a game ratio. 67% form though for Carlisle right now, without a win in 3 in all competitions and all venues. As for Oxford, of course, 58% form for them. However, of course, starting with that defeat. Last time I played over at the Kazam, it was a 1-1 draw back in December 2015. Cambridge with a 2-0 win over Oxford. Carlisle drawing with Fleetwood. Carlisle taking on Harrogate this weekend, of course, or in the Cup. They're going to expect it to win that game. Oxford taking on Bristol City. They're expected to lose that game. The odds, though, for this one, that's all about, really, is 23-20 is your Oxford. Of course, 21-10 is your Carlisle. 12-5 is the draw. Back in, of course, Oxford to keep on moving a little bit. 2-1 win for them. Up the table they go. And, of course, taking the first L for Carlisle. Next up, we have Posh up against Charlton. A bit of a zinger, this one, down at Peterborough. Of course, played each other 18 times. It's 1993, 6 wins apiece. And we've got 6 draws, the mark of the beast. That's right. Peterborough, of course, 4-1 win. The biggest win over Charlton. 22 goals scored by Posh in those 18 games. 1.22 goals a game ratio. On the flip side, 5-1 win was the biggest win for Charlton over Peterborough. 27 goals scored in those 18 games. 1.5 goals a game ratio heading into this as well. Charlton, though, 67% form for them. Just 1 defeat past 6. Peterborough also 1 defeat past 6. 75% form for them heading into this as well. Last time around, though, over at Peterborough was a 0-0 draw back in February 2023. Peterborough unbeaten against Charlton over the last 6, winning 3 and drawing 3. Posh with the 1-0 win over Reading. Good result there. Taking on, of course, Swindon in the Carabao Cup, where they're expected to squeak past them into the next round. Charlton with a 1-0 win over Leyton Orient. They're taking on Newport County, and they're also expected to get a cheeky result there. Of course, the odds for this one, we have Peterborough 4-3 on for the victory here. We've got 14-5 is the draw. 3-1 is your Charlton. Going to go with a 3-2 goal fest here. Should be a good game if you are a neutral. Kicking on forward, then we have Port Vale, who are looking to bounce back up against Reading. That's right, down at Vale Park. Now, these two sides have played each other 8 times since 1994. We've got 4 wins for Port Vale, 1 win for Reading, 3 draws, of course. Vale, 3-0 win was the biggest win over Reading. 13 goals scored in those 8 games, 1.63 goals a game ratio. Up against Reading, of course, 2-0 win for them was their highest. 9 goals scored in those 8 games, 1.13 goals a game ratio up against Port Vale. Form book, though, is pretty shocking for both of them. Of course, Ruben Sellers boys, 0% form over the last 6. Port Vale, of course, 33% form for them, just 1 win in the last 6. Last time I played over at Vale Park, it was a 0-0 draw way back in November 1997. It's been a long, long time, guys. Reading, of course, losing to Peterborough on opening day. Port Vale with that big tonking 7-0 loss. Looking to bounce back with a matchup against Fleetwood. They're expected to win in the Carabao Cup. Reading taking on Millwall in a tasty little one down at the Den. But the odds for this game, we have Port Vale 6-4, but actually 8-5 is your Reading. 23-10 is the draw. A bit of response needed for Port Vale. I think they're going to lose this one, though. 2-0 for Reading on the road. Could be trouble already brewing. Wigan up against Northampton Town. Now, these two sides have played each other, according to my eyes, 6 times since 2002. We got 5 wins for Wigan, no draws, and 1 win for Northampton. The one and only win for Northampton was a 3-2 win. They scored 3 goals in, of course, those 6 games, 0.5 goals a game ratio up against Wigan's big 2-0 win, of course, scored 8 goals in those 6 games, 1.33 goals a game ratio heading into this. Of course, Northampton Town, 42% form for them right now, just 1 defeat at the past 6. 1 defeat past 4. On the flip side, Wigan, what are they looking at? 1 defeat past 6, 58% form for them heading into this. Last time around at the DW was that 3-2 win for Northampton Town back in October 2020. Northampton Town with that opening day loss to Stevenage. Wigan with a cheeky 2-1 win over Derby. We're going to play Wrexham in the Cup. Of course, expected to to lose that game against Wrexham. As for Northampton, they're taking on Championship Swansea and also expected to lose that. The odds for this one, we have Wigan 11-10, but the victory 11-5 is your Northampton Town, 12-5 is your draw. I'm going with a 1-0 win for Wigan. I may have got them wrong, but we'll see if I'm right. And that, my friends, is what I've got for you. Hopefully you followed along with me, and also make sure you get your own picks in as well. Of course, by doing this, Cutley/League One, it is free. Use the code there. Makes it a little bit easier. Just pish, bash, bosh, put your picks in and see if you can be the prediction king, of course. And this is what my table will look like. Bolton, Peterborough, both top of the table with 6 points. Wigan, Stevenage doing A-OK. Again, not too sure if that's legit. I think Wigan do have a points deduction. Correct me if I'm wrong. Stevenage, Barnsley, and Exeter make up my playoffs. Cheltenham, Northampton Town, Burton, and Port Vale, Goon Doon in my eyes. That, my friends, is what I've got for you. Of course, make sure you smash your thumbs up, smash your subscribe, smash the little bell. I really enjoyed the first round of matches. Hopefully you did too. And of course, make sure you hit the little bell to justify that like for this one as well, so we can keep on going. Make the Prediction League as competitive as possible by getting this video out there. And in order to do that, you need to subscribe and also smash that thumbs up. It's free for you. It, of course, costs me dearly. I don't know how it costs me, but I would love you to smash that thumbs up. Please do it. Of course, it will get a bit more scope and a bit more momentum out there in the YouTube algorithm. But until then, guys, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the little bell. We'll be back, of course, for match day number 3 very, very soon. But until then, I'm tapping out.